Welcome back to Kidsplaining. I'm Allison. This is Daniel, and today we are going to talk about why we don't do more negative reviews.
Yep.
I mean, every game isn't awesome. We don't love every game. We don't play every game. Why don't we talk more about the games that we don't like?
Yep. Which is a really good question, because I know there's a feeling out there that negative reviews are more honest, or that, again, Alex over at Board Game Co. did a video on, I think the title of it was "People Aren't Buying Positive Reviews," just addressing the perception that publishers are out there paying people for their positive reviews. That's another great video. I highly recommend
we'll
watching
link that.
But that kind of re-sparked a conversation that we have had multiple times as we've tried to figure out what we wanted our channel to be and kind of the feel of it. And I think it's an important conversation to have for you as the viewers to understand the mindset of people like us
who are reviewing,
who are reviewing
highlighting games.
People that you seek out their opinion on games to understand where our opinions come from.
And we don't, like I said, we don't like every single game. But there is very few games that we don't like. We are what we call, or what we've been told is called omni gamers, which we pretty much like every mechanic. And we obviously have ones that we prefer. We love roll and writes.
Yes.
We love cooperatives.
That's a big part of it, is there's very few games that we can't find some value in.
Some reason to play and enjoyment in playing. But we also, I mean, if you're on the internet, which you obviously are, you know that people like watching things that are negative.
Yeah.
And that's something that Alex did point out in his video, but that's something that we've talked about before, is people click on those things, but there's so much energy that you have to put into doing that and thinking through that negative part. And I don't want to put any more negative out there personally. That's just my personal, I was like, I just don't want to put that out there. And we also have our kids on the channel.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it for me, is we are shaping how our kids, through the discussions that we have with them, through content that we make with them, we feel a great responsibility in shaping how they address negatives, things they don't like. I feel the burden. I know you feel the burden because we've talked about it. If I give a negative review on something, I am giving a negative review on something that somebody put a whole lot of time into. And even if I don't like it, I want to respect that fact that is someone's baby. It's their little cardboard and plastic baby that they put a lot of love and care into. And if I'm going to negatively review that, I want to do it in a constructive way,
we need to give
here's what didn't work for me, not just this is terrible, it was whatever, like there wasn't a lot of thought put into this, it was lazy, it was whatever it is. I don't want to come across like that. That's not kind, and we are trying to teach our kids to be kind, so I don't want to be unkind in my review of things. Also, on that same kind of train of thought, if I'm going to review something negatively, if I'm going to come across and say that a board game wasn't for me or doesn't work for me, I need to play it a few times.
Yes.
Because I want to give it justice, because we have played games that didn't click the first time. Usually it clicks for one of us, but not the other, and that's why we play it again. If it's a game that neither of us like,
we don't really want to get it on the table. There's so many other games that we'd like to try that honestly it's really difficult for us to be like, let's try it again.
Yeah.
One of us, we just didn't like it.
Knowing that the likely outcome is that we have to put negative energy into something. I mean, it takes energy to create these videos, to create this content. So why put that emotional energy and all of that into and spend our limited time, our limited production time? We can only upload a certain number of videos before we just burn people out. Why do that? Yeah, before we burn ourselves out, before we burn our audience out. Why put that energy into something negative when we can say, here's a great game that you're going to love versus here's a game you're probably not going to like.
Honestly, there is if the game is bad, I'm sure other people who have that time will put that into it and will review it that way.
Now, where you will get negative stuff from us more likely is when we disagree on it. And that is we will gladly come and say, here's what we like about it, here's what we didn't like, and if it's Allison argues for or against and I argue the other side, we'll do those, one, because those are fun to make. and just fun to have those discussions. And I think for our audience, that's probably a more valuable, because you get both sides of it, versus if we just don't both like something, someone
there's games
does
that our
like
kids
it.
love playing that we could just never play again and be totally fun with, but we still have it in our collection because our boys like it.
Yeah.
And we will play those games.
Yeah.
It's definitely not one we'll pull off the shelf, but because our kids do, we'll play it. And so we will, and they want to review those games. There's been a few of those games we already have reviewed that they want to review it because they love the game, and we let them talk.
And I'm sure there are very few games out there that got made despite every single playtester and every single reviewer saying it was terrible.
Right.
So if a game exists, if it got published, somebody liked it.
Mm-hmm. It may just
may
not be us. It may not be you, but someone did.
So to say that it's terrible is making a very subjective statement, again, about something that someone put a lot of emotional energy into. And there are games out there that are just, and not from small designers. There are games out there from, if you saw Tom's review of the macaroni and cheese game, like those games are just marketing ploys. That's different. I loved that review. It was fun to watch because it was purely a money grab from Kraft, I think. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the games that were designed by an actual game designer that love and care went into, and it went through the process of getting published and ended up just not being for me.
Right.
So, and I think that's the gist of it. It's just,
that's why we aren't going to, if a game hits our table that no one in our family likes, it's not going to hit our table again. Mm-hmm. If you were the publisher or independent designer that sent it to us, we have already connected with you, letting you know this isn't a fit for us. Can we send it on to someone else who this might fit? But we aren't going to toss the game or anything, because again, we really respect that someone's energy, time, and money went into creating those games. So we will send it on because we know there's someone out there that will love the game. It's just not for us. Yeah. And so we just move it on and we focus our energy on games that we love and we really want to tell you about, because there's so many games out there. We just want to highlight the ones that we really want to talk about.
Now, if it is a game that we've gotten a lot of requests for, that's different, because again, our goal here is to create content that people want to watch. So if we know that there's a game that is highly requested, that may sway us one way or the other. But in general, this is our reasoning why, for the most part, we don't do negative reviews on games. It's just, it takes energy. And why
have that be negative?
I don't like intentionally being negative about things. That's what it was, I think, as Rodney pointed out on a Twitter thread a while back, is just realizing that every single negative, the trolling comments, not the constructively critical comments, but the actual trolling comments, like those people are going out and intentionally putting negative energy into this. They make a choice to be negative. And in my limited time to do this, I would much rather make choices to be positive. Yes. Again, because our goal here is to get more families playing games. Mm-hmm. And I would rather help them find games that they're going to love, because if they can buy a game that they love, they're not buying a game that they may not love.
Right.
So I would rather steer them towards games that are a great fit versus spend time steering them away from other games that, again, if it's a bad game, there's going to be other reviews out there. Mm-hmm. But for us, we just choose to be positive. We choose to have that. Again, I can't stress enough how much of a burden we feel to raise our kids to be kind humans, that even if they don't like something, and if you saw Jared's Fall the Mountain King solo review, he was critical in that.
He was.
But he did it in a way, and those were all his thoughts, but we helped him shape those thoughts into a way that was constructive and respectful to the game designer, and hopefully helped them. Again, that was a Kickstarter, so they have the opportunity to actually go change those things. And that is another thing in our criticism that we take into account, is if it's a Kickstarter, you still have a year to fix these things. Yeah. If it's a game that's out on retail,
it's a little harder to fix
I don't want to spend a bunch of time telling a publisher what all is wrong with their game
when it's already it's published. It's done.
And if you reach out and ask us, you leave us a comment, I will gladly tell you this game isn't for me. We didn't really enjoy it, that
which
kind
has
of thing.
happened quite a few times actually. So, and I will I will totally do that. But as far as spending the time and the energy and producing a video reviewing the game, it just takes a lot more than just a quick message. Back to what you were saying with Jared and Peyton. If they say, I don't like this, whether it's a game, whether it's food, whether it's whatever, we're raising them to say, well, why?
Yeah.
We need reasons. And that's been from since they were able to create an opinion.
Especially if someone else's feelings are on the line.
Exactly.
And that is...
No man's an island. Your opinion means something.
When you're reviewing a game, someone's feelings are always on the line. Again, unless it's just a big corporate money grab that they just threw a bunch of stuff in a box and called it a game. But for the games that we cover on our channel, everyone's feelings are always on the line. And that doesn't mean that we're going to lie or sugarcoat stuff. It just means that we're going to be selective. But again, it just comes down to like, where do we want to put our energy? And I'd much rather put in my energy on helping you find great games for your date night, or games that you can play with your kids, or games that your kids can play together so that parents don't have to supervise. Those are all places that I feel are much more productive for our energy.
Yep.
And that's why we focus on those and not finding games that we can review negatively.
Yep. So we, again, this conversation kind of got kickstarted again because of watching Alex Board Game Co.'s video he posted. Yep. So we'll link that below. But yeah, while you're down there, if you haven't yet,
hit the subscribe button right here.
We have a couple of videos you can watch right here. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.